All right, I think we can go ahead and get started on the last session today. So thank you guys for hanging in all the way through the day here. What we're going to do now is have a little bit of a conversation with two of our customers who come from kind of different backgrounds and different sides of the industry. I'll let them introduce themselves, but essentially what we're going to talk about here is the differences of being a nonprofit who's working with an event and being an event coordinator who's working with nonprofits. How you guys both motivate the people that you're working with, and how you really put together your companies or nonprofits. So first off, if you just want to introduce yourself, your organization, some of the events and fundraising that you're responsible for, I guess we can start with Trish.
Okay, sure. So my name is Trish Portuese. I own Championship Racing. That is a company out of Birmingham, Alabama that just kind of got spawned as a result of, hey, we've got a need. And, I used to, volunteer as a race director, and it kind of morphed into something I never imagined. So, but here we are today. I help anywhere from 12 to 15 events per year. As a side business, primarily running, and we've expanded into some ticketing events since we now have the GiveSignup. But I'll, throughout this little segment, I'll probably talk about two primary events. One is Rump Shaker, where we were really kind of had to shift that one over to the RunSignup because it was so large for me. We're upwards around 3,700 people. And we needed something to make it more easier for me to manage. And so that was one of the driving factors, really, was more about, making it easy for the participant to register as well as me to help and manage that. And then Norma Livingston Ovarian Cancer Foundation, we now have 3 events under RunSignup, 2 under RunSignup and 1 under GiveSignup. So it's a butterfly release event that we're going to be doing new this year. So something a little bit different, but those are the 2 really. But I also deal with mostly nonprofits, some for-profits that have a charity at the as a part of their donation. So I have a wide variety of skill sets, sizing. So I do Jingle Bell as well. I used to help with the Race for the Cures. So a wide variety of how they target stuff, how they do things, why they do things. So that's kind of what I do here now, is just help others.
Thanks. Christine.
Hi, I'm Christine Ingraham with the community sports team from Semper and America's Fund, a nonprofit started in 2004 to help wounded, critically ill, and injured service members and their family members. I work strictly with the athletes who run athletic events and fundraise for Semper and America's Fund. So we're partner with Boston Marathon, New York City Marathon, Marine Corps Marathon, Chicago Marathon. We have general community athletes, so people who choose their own event and fundraise. And then we also, this year we have added Alcatraz and Hood to Coast, and all of our teams are on RunSignup. So it makes it super easy to manage all of them and their fundraising.
I think you both kind of answered what tools you use. Christine, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about kind of why you guys are on using the RunSignup platform specifically for community events, why you've picked that.
It makes it really easy. They have to they register as a member of our team. So all the capabilities of RunSignup as far as that goes is wonderful. And then they all have a fundraising page, and the page is easily customized for them. They can add pictures, they can add their own story. The integration with Facebook has been huge for a lot of our fundraisers. It makes it super easy for them to hit their targets. When we're an official partner with those races, there's a minimum that they have to meet. So it makes it really easy for us to communicate with our athletes, and the easy to use platform for them makes it easy for them to hit their targets.
So obviously this year has been kind of crazy. Just give us kind of a quick catch up on what kinds of things you were able to do in 2020 and what your upcoming fall season is looking like. I guess we'll start back with Trish again and then switch off.
So we, like I said, I normally have about 12 to 15 events. Last year I only did one in-person event, and it was a brand new event that just didn't understand that, hey, COVID's here. So we put it on. We did all the safe practices, but we did put it on. all of the others were either canceled or we went virtual. So for 2021, what we've started is very slowly. So the city of Birmingham has been shut down from a permit perspective. So for certain events that were too large to move to a regional area, they were canceled. So we've moved our Rum Shaker event, which is usually downtown Birmingham because of their size. We moved it to another township where we had to redo the permits, the venue, everything. So we scaled it down because the venue and the size was a little bit smaller. And it was March, so we're just coming out of COVID sort of. So right now we are moving forward with events. They're coming back. Some that were canceled in the spring are now coming asking me, hey, are you available in the fall? Can we get permits for the fall? So I think we're going to start seeing things come back around. But I'm a little concerned. Obviously, everybody's concerned about the next wave, whatever wave number it is for COVID. So right now we're still moving forward. We have permit capabilities to go back into Birmingham. So we're our larger events may start kicking back up into gear again. So. But we still have virtual options. We'll probably still continue with some of the hybrids, the ones that actually did hybrid events.
Thanks. Christine, I know there are some big races on the calendar again.
There are some big races on the calendar again. And because of the nature of what we do, we were at the mercy of everything happening last year, no control over races being canceled, and but still needed to keep our fundraisers engaged. And so we jumped right into that virtual world last year with a fitness challenge, an individual run across the country. We did a Veterans Day race with multiple distances, and Nick Beach, who I think is on this call today, set up Race Joy for us, so our runners could get those messages while they were running their race at home. So it was really fun, actually, to try all those different things. But we are looking forward to going back in person. We'll be out in California in a couple weeks at the Escape from Alcatraz Triathlon. So that'll be our first in-person athletic event for our community athletes. So really excited. And then a lot of them are still doing virtual events. So we're supporting them there too, as best that we can.
So Christine, sticking with you for a second, because you work with really these premier events, but it takes a lot of time to put together the kinds of programs you build. How do you guys pick what types of events you're going to work with? What are kind of the criteria that you use to decide what events to work with?
So we ideally look for races that sell out and that have the charity program. And then we talk to our athletes about what races are they looking to get into. We apply to be part of that charity program and then go about recruiting our team. Our Alcatraz team is only 6 people, and then we could have several hundred at Marine Corps Marathon and everything in between. Those hard to get into races are wonderful fundraising opportunities for us. So it's just the application process, and trying to find races that fit our mission as well is really important to us. And then trying to find athletes who connect with our mission, and that makes a successful charity partner team.
Trish, on the flip side, obviously there can be a lot of demand for a race management company to help with events. What do you look for when you're talking to a prospective client about whether or not it's a good fit for you to work with them and to make that decision?
Yeah, so usually what I usually do is talk to them about why do they want to put on an event. And you kind of get a gauge, is it about the money, trying to raise awareness or raise funds? And I try to get a gauge, how prepared are they to take on an assortment of a lot of tasks in order to meet that specific goal. I kind of ask them, what is their background? Have they put on 5K races, or have they participated in 5K races? And that too is a gauge to how much engagement or involvement I'll have to put in. Because usually when you have a first time race that's never done, or, never put on an event before, there's a lot more extra work that has to go into it. You have to actually teach them Race Director 101, what are the participants looking for as a participant? There are expectations that have to be met, let alone all the sponsorship, the donations, and all that fundraising aspect that needs to go into the event to where they become a profitable event. So we have to teach them all of those things And sometimes it's kind of hard for them to understand what runners expect versus what they want. So there's, you have to build, you have to bridge that gap and have them understand, if you put something on for, a participant, there are specific expectations that you have to satisfy for this entry fee that you're going to be getting. So I try and gauge that, and I try and understand what their goals and objectives are, and then try to meet the needs if I can. And sometimes it's more about helping them understand it may not be in their best interest to put on events. I mean, I've done that a few times. So I do have something up on my webpage where it's basically, Race Director 101, you need to be able to do these things. And if it's not something you want to do, maybe, you might want to do some other type of event that may be less, less burdensome, because you need a full race committee to be truly successful, that you cannot do this by one person alone.
Kind of along those lines, when you talk to most of the events that you work with, obviously there may be some variation, but what types of participants do they tend to get? Are they looking more for competitive participants, or people connected to them, or?
So most of the charity events that I deal with, I will say there's two types of participants that I see. Number one, you first off always get participants that are related to that charity somehow, some form or fashion. And I do a lot of cancer events. So, they're being impacted, a family member themselves or whomever have been impacted by that cancer, and they are drawn to supporting that family member, friend. So they are drawn to that. So that's usually, what we get is participants that want to support the charity, support their friend or family member. And then you have the normal runners that, you put on a quality event. They do attend quality events because they want to have very specific things, their awards. They know the race is going to start on time. They're going to be well informed. They're going to have results, posted on time and online. So, all those types of things are consistent. So that's what we help that charity do, is provide consistency, reliability, and you're acting like a valid event instead of just somebody that's tossing out, hey, we've got a 5K, come on down. We try and provide validity and all those supporting elements to that particular event to make sure that it's a high quality event.
Christine, you kind of mentioned that you look for people as fundraisers who are care about your mission and are aligned with you guys. How do obviously you don't want to turn down any fundraisers, but how do you go about communicating with people about what it's like to be a fundraiser, and what you're looking for from them to make sure you get people who are really engaged?
So from our smaller teams, so Boston, New York, Chicago, we conduct phone interviews with people. We have an application that they fill out, really basic, super short form that they fill out. And then we talk to them about why they want to run this particular race, what's their running experience, what's their connection to our mission, and make sure that they know what they're getting into, because we realize how difficult it is not only to train usually for a marathon when they're running with us, but also to fundraise on top of that. And then the other key component is that the awareness that they're raising is just as important as the fundraising. So we want people who are willing to talk to their friends, their family, stranger next to them on the plane about our mission. So those personal relationships are really important to us.
And just for context for people, when you're talking about your kind of premier races, what types of minimum fundraising amounts are people trying to reach?
For Marine Corps Marathon, this year it's 700, and then we go all the way up to Boston Marathon is 10,000. New York, we're bronze level charity, 3,000, and Chicago is 1,850. And so a lot of those minimums are set by the race. We apply to be a bronze level charity for New York City. That comes with that certain $3,000 minimum. So for those higher demand races, we're able to recruit people who will fundraise higher amounts.
What kinds of tools do you give people then, to help them learn how to become a fundraiser and to actually, reach out to their communities? I know that's a pretty broad question because it's a lot of your job, but
we have an online fundraising kit that we send them. And again, it comes down to those conversations that we have with them about coming up with a fundraising plan. A lot of them use the Facebook integration, the a lot of people have matching funds from their employers, which is a wonderful way for them to hit their target. They put on events, and so we'll help them with that. We can send them a banner to borrow. We have one of our fundraisers, she puts on a race that she uses RunSignup for every spring. So up in Pennsylvania, and that's how she meets her fundraising goals. So they do a variety of things, garage sales, and we have a pair of kids, friends, or one of our fundraisers, her children, they sell apple pies every fall as part of their Marine Corps Marathon fundraiser. So people get creative, and we try to help them with those ideas.
On the flip side, I think, Trish, a lot of your participants are probably less engaged and not throwing their own races to get ready for your race. What kinds of donation and fundraising tools do you usually recommend to a nonprofit that is planning on putting on a 5K?
Yeah, so I look at it as free money. Just set up donations at the end of the day. And then, the other quick hit that you guys saw where you can add a quick, hey, 5, 10, 15, 20, right at the checkout phase, we get a lot of clicks on that. So those two things for sure, that is easy, super easy to deal with. Just set it up. But just like Christine said, fundraising, you just don't turn on fundraising without some training and some tools and some things to help the participant understand this is an event where the charity is trying to raise, either awareness about their charity and the cause, but also raise funds. And fundraising is not something simple. It is something that you have to constantly train people on and help them with tool sets, just like Christine was saying, with how to fundraise and set goals and what, tools and tips to do that. I work with Race for the Cure, and we put on massive sessions, in-person sessions for team captains about fundraising. So it's critical. If that is the avenue you want to go down, you really need to have a focal point and a key person that will take ownership and control of that component. It's just not something you set up and just let it go. If you really want to manage it, you really want to raise funds. That is a key effort right there. I've worked in the past with Ronald McDonald House, and that is another key aspect. They are doing extremely well with that component, is fundraising. So it's you got to put the right resource to it, and you will be amazed about what things happen. And the tool sets are there. You just have to apply person to activate it.
One last question for Christine, kind of focused still on specifically fundraising. We've had some conversation today already about Facebook fundraising and the pros and cons of turning it on because you don't get as much data back from Facebook as you might like. So because of what that difference has made for you guys having that integration and how you're able to use that for your fundraisers.
So before it was integrated, people would start Facebook fundraisers on their own, and then they would email us and say, hey, I had this, Facebook fundraiser and I want it to apply to my fundraising page for New York City Marathon. It was a lot of work on the backside.
Yes, it is.
So with the integration, it's amazing. And I try to tell them, people usually contact us before they sign up for the race, even if it's one that doesn't require an application. And I'll tell them, you'll see this pop-up window. It'll ask if you want to integrate with Facebook. It's a great way to hit your target. And I always tell them, if you're not quite ready to do that, we can show you how to turn it on later. So a lot of people wait, especially if, maybe they've registered with us in April, but their race isn't until October. Sometimes they'll wait until maybe they're halfway through their fundraising before they turn that on. So they're really strategic about when they integrate, or maybe they want to do that around their birthday. And so we communicate with them up front to let them know that that they can do that. But we've had people do all of their fundraising via a Facebook fundraiser on their RunSignup fundraising page. Recently, somebody raised over $2,000 in a couple of days that way. So it's been really nice. It makes our bookkeeping easier on the backside. And a lot of those people that are donating to their page might have donated previously for another race directly on RunSignup. So it's been great.
Question from the room here, which I think is kind of appropriate to ask now, Christine. Do you have challenges with getting fundraisers to appropriately articulate your mission? Do you have to give them guidance around that?
We do give them guidance on that. Last year especially, we were on Zoom along with everybody else, and that was one of the things that we did. We had some team meetings to talk about how to talk about Semper Fi and America's Fund. We went through a rebranding last year as well. We were Semper Fi Fund with a program called America's Fund, but then they joined the two last year. So now it's Semper Fi and America's Fund. So we're still educating our longtime fundraisers about the name change and our logo change and all of those things. But we do work with them. And if they're going to, sometimes they'll set up a booth like at their local town fair, and we go over with them our talking points and help them to feel confident about talking about the mission.
Changing gears a little bit, Trish, I know that, not only do you work with a lot of nonprofits, you work with a lot of health-related nonprofits.
Mm-hmm.
How has that impacted the willingness of the clients that you work with to get back to in-person? Do you think it's added some extra hesitancy around that?
Yes and no. They've made us more aware. You hear stuff on the news, whether it be true, false, whatever. Their healthcare, they're getting straight from the facts straight from, whoever informs hospitals. So I feel pretty confident when they say, we should be trimming down our participants. I feel confident that, we should do those types of things. So in March, our normal 3,000 person event was only 800. Because of that, I didn't feel safe because I personally was just getting vaccinated. So vaccinations for the, below whatever 65 was just beginning to happen. So we did take their advice and stream down our in-person event from 3,000 to 800. But now, again, it goes back to, it's going to be full on, with races. I personally don't think race participation is going to be as high as it was from, let's say, 2019. That's just a personal thought process there until we get really cleared of COVID. But, people do want to get out, and we're happy to do it safely and have participants get out there and start running. And if they don't feel comfortable, we do have, again, still a virtual option. But they're ready to go. But the medical people have given us the guidance. We have listened. We don't go against whatever their wishes or their medical guidance is presented to us.
Along those lines, still, what are some of the processes that you put into place for your race day to help keep people a little bit separate and moving efficiently?
So yeah, what we've done is a couple of different things. We set up waves from the onset of registration. So person has to register, they have to give us their time they expect to finish. So we set up the waves so that when we have our start line, they'll start in small groups based on their time. So that was one thing we've done for sure. We have also done a lot of communication, both a lot of on the RunSignup and through emails that come out close to the event date regarding our protocols for how we're going to handle in person, what the volunteers are going to do, what the participants are expected to do, and how we're going to proceed with this. We've also provided some small snippet videos because some people don't understand what waves are. So we had like a 20-second video of what does it mean. So when we call a wave up, what does that mean? So the video helps them get a visualization about when they need to be on site for picking up their race packet, or how do they get into the starting area, how do they separate, things of that nature. So we kind of did a little video to kind of give them that visualization, because you got to think about it. Our participants are not runners. Our participants are there to support the charity. So you have to kind of teach them how to do racing 101, let alone the COVID things. Of course, we've used hand sanitizer everywhere. Everybody was given a mask before the event, as well as if they wanted an additional one after the event. So we try and give them all the opportunities to be safe. And then we got, verbal conversations on the PA systems about, what we're expecting them to do. So those are the minimums, what we've been doing. We did expand our registration. We made it longer, had more days of opportunity to pick up to not have lines. And then for our bigger events, RunSignup being one of them, we usually have teams, a couple of hundred people per team. So what we do is team packet pickup. So one person picks up those, 50 or 60 race packets. We know in advance that they're going to do that. We send out all the team captains an email. There's a link that they can go to fill out a form. That's up on my website. So we know all the team captains. We know what day they're planning to come and what time, so that box is prepped and ready for them to go. We sit it out front for them to pick it up, and then we have some process to check them off to make sure they've got everything. But we've done a lot of different things to make it easy for the participants, make it easy for us, and also just make sure we're not getting, several hundred people in a small location to do packet pickup, because at risk, you got to think about it, we're the ones at risk. We're there all the time. So we're facing those, a couple of hundred to, a couple thousand people throughout that 5-day period we're doing packet pickup. So we're trying to reduce the risk to us as well. But so we've done a lot of different things, from the registration process, the communication email process, the day of process, the packet pickup process. So everything was kind of rethought, and as well as the on-course water stations as well. So a lot of thought went into how we're going to modify our event process.
This is slightly out of order, but you said something about it and it reminded me, I definitely wanted to ask you about how you use Teams. I know, especially with RunSignup, as kind of a motivating factor for the event.
Oh yeah. So Teams for RunSignup is the hottest hit. Let me tell you right now. So what we do for that is we offer a incentive. So if you register 5 people, anybody 5-person and beyond gets a $5 discount. And we are pretty much the lowest cost race in the city of Birmingham. So, and then on top of that, every so often we offer discounts. So you might be able to get a 5K registration for $10. And I'm telling you, that's the cheapest in town, I can promise you. So that is a huge hit. So we have got, I would say 85% of the participants are on a team. And they make it so much fun for being on a team. They are, there's lots of incentives for the largest teams. So, everything's about that team incentive. And this event is about participation, getting people to participate. Yes, they're getting revenue from the participation. They're getting revenue from the sponsorship, because if you have more participation, your sponsors are more likely to attend or, give their, donate, I shouldn't say donate, sponsor your event. And then fundraising and donations. The first year we put RunSignup onto RunSignup. Again, we're in Birmingham. This is not DC or someplace. They got $21,000 in donations. I thought that was awesome. Because we, basically doubled donations from the previous online vendor to this, using RunSignup. So it made it simple, because I didn't have to do anything in the back end, which was, remember my keywords, less I have to do, the better. So yeah, Teams has been a phenomenal add-on, and it makes it fun for the participants. It's sometimes easy for us at the back end to manage that, because if you're packing up a team of 70, you don't really have to, there's good things and bad things about team participation. You are not communicating directly to 70 people. You're directly communicating to the team captain. So that can be a problem in that, you may not have their email address to inform and advise them. If there's something that, needs to be communicated, we're not getting to them. So there's pros and cons. At the end of the day, we work around it as best we can, but it's still a pretty cool concept. It's like, for RunSignup, it's, the best thing in the world, because that's what really drives this event, is team and making it fun and giving some incentives to, get a little discount.
Kind of back on the same original topic before I sidetracked us, sorry. Christine, when you guys are looking at your upcoming fall events, obviously you're not dealing with a massive number of participants for most of your teams, but what kinds of things have you had to change in terms of getting ready for being there on site together?
One thing is recruiting has been harder because the races are smaller. People are a little unsure about, if they're ready to travel across the country to go run a race someplace else with a bunch of other people. So recruiting has been a lot harder for us this year. And then looking at our normal weekend events, we would usually have a team gathering of some sort. Sometimes that's a brunch, sometimes that's a big pasta dinner. And so we're having to scale those a little bit differently. Depends what city we're going to be in. If they have different COVID restrictions, we're trying to plan some outdoor events just because we, that way we don't have to be quite so concerned, maybe shortening our events. Some races haven't announced yet if they're going to have the traditional expo, where sometimes we would have a booth. So, and that is where we would give our runners their runner bag. So if they're not going to have the expo, how are we going to manage that? So we're staying flexible and having plan A, plan B, and plan C. So once those races do make those announcements, then we'll be ready to go. So just trying to go with the flow, and everything will be fine.
So some of this is kind of tied to what you're talking about in terms of, if and when you see them. But you guys do a fair amount of attention into rewarding your participants, and making them, feel thanked and appreciated for the time and energy that they put in. What are some of the ways that you really, give back to them?
Well, but they all get a team shirt. That's the first thing. That's their first incentive. We do a lot of thank you phone calls, thank you emails. The old-fashioned handwritten note goes really far. People love to get that in the mail with just a simple sticker that they can put on their water bottle or on the back of their laptop. And then we'll have fundraising incentives if they go above and beyond. We try to be thoughtful in the promo items that we get. So one year we had fanny packs. If they doubled their fundraising, I mean, I wear a fanny pack every morning on my daily run. So a sport towel, things like that. If they go really above and beyond, then there are things like hats and jackets and things like that. And then I was thinking, when Trish was talking about teams, we have fundraising teams and they get so competitive with each other. It's unbelievable. So in the number of people that are on their teams and the amount that they fundraise. And that's fun for them to see each other every year. It's at Marine Corps Marathon where those fundraising teams really like to compete against one another.
One question from the crowd. Obviously, you guys can continue to put in questions if you want. We'll answer them as able. So this is probably more for Christine, but ideas from either of you. It's just someone who says they have a committee with some board members and some runners and some donors, and they want to educate them on how to better fundraise. Obviously, that's a little different from what you're doing, but at the same time, you guys are still educating people. What are some of the best resources that you provide to help teach people how to fundraise?
Again, it's that personal relationship and having class, we have little Zoom classes and our fundraising kit, and a lot of it's done through the personal ask of the athlete, individual conversations with people. We provide a template that they can copy and paste into an email or print that says, what exactly they're fundraising for, the event, the amount they're trying to fundraise. So if they're going maybe to their local businesses, they have something to show them. We can send them some little brochures from Semper Fi and America's Fund. We also provide a printable info sheet for them that they can take with them. And one of the new things that we're doing is we've designed a print at home community athlete business card that has the QR code that links right to their RunSignup fundraising page. So one of our Boston team members is an airline pilot. He's traveling all the time. So he takes those with him. And when he's talking with people, he can just pass his card to them. It has the QR code. They scan it. It goes right to his fundraising page. So that's been a new fun way for people to fundraise. We help them plan those events and also talk to them about the importance of telling their donors thank you and continuing to update their donors. Somebody might have donated $10. Well, check back with them in another month. Tell them how your training is going for that race. They like to hear that. And then they might donate again. I think I read somewhere you need to ask somebody 6 times before they make the donation. So don't be afraid to go back and keep asking.
Do you see, I know you mentioned fundraising teams, do you see people joining as family or friends to go, meet up at the same event? Is that how they use it?
They do. It's friends and family. We just had a pair of brothers join our New York City Marathon team. One had joined and then he egged his brother on until he joined. And then another team of our fundraisers from Long Island just joined our team today as well. A group of friends, brand new fundraisers for us. They had just run a local triathlon and had so much fun. And they reached back out and asked if we had entries for New York City. So, and then we have another runner up in Boston. She has her own little running club called Just Because. So they're not specifically Semper Fi and America's Fund fundraisers. They fundraise for a group of different nonprofits. But a good group of them will come every year to Marine Corps Marathon, or they'll reach out to us to run New York or Boston. So, running's so social. It's a great way to get people involved.
Trish, this is a little bit out of left field, but just because you have such broad experience, if you were bringing on a new event and you had to pick one feature that you definitely wanted to tell them to enable, what would be your number one feature?
Definitely teams. I always tell them teams. Because even if you don't provide the discount, it's still the how do you bring, so like Christine was just saying, how do you bring a group of individuals together that can say, I'm together with some other group? A lot of our teams at Rumshaker design their own t-shirts and come as a group, all dressed in the same t-shirt, or they'll wear costumes upon occasion. Because it's Rumshaker, so you see a lot of the back end rumps coming through. You see all sorts of funky, fun costumes for that particular event. But teams, absolutely teams. Doesn't cost you anything. It's just a little setup. And if you want to add the discount part of it, it's super easy to set up as well.
Kind of looking to the future, which is a little bit hard for everyone, I think, still to plan. I think Christine said best plan A, plan B, plan C. But for now, how are you guys talking, to your participants and to your clients about 2022 and the future?
Me personally, plan in advance. Plan well enough advance, because things will happen. Rumshaker, for example, we could not be down in Birmingham like normal. We use the baseball field as part of our venue. Well, Birmingham is closed, so we had to rethink and move to another venue. So Trish has got to create find the venue, create a course, get it certified, and that takes me time. So it takes time to get all that stuff, get the police engaged from the different, vicinities. So the more time you have to plan, get your basics down, get your date, get your venue, make sure you have your permits, and make sure you have a timer. And then, if there's somebody like me, make sure they're engaged and involved as well. So if you get those, 5 basics down, and then everything else you have to do sub planning for, then you can begin to, either hurry up on specific things or, settle in on certain things, because there's things you can't, you've got to do. You've got to get your donation stuff set up. You've got to rework all the RunSignup verbiage that is sitting on your page. Everything takes time, because you don't want to open without having a very good plan in place, because you have to have your plan in place, and then becomes the execution mode, and then it's your month before you're spot on, and you're only rectifying issues because something has changed. You plan for what you have enough time at the end to plan for the unplanned. Because things do happen. Like I said, one of our other Trek Club races, within days before the event, the tornado hit the city of one of our sub-cities. Well, the first thing is we couldn't have it downtown Birmingham, so we had to move to another location out at a park. Tornado hit the park got closed. You're down to the 2 days prior to event. You don't know if you're putting your event on. So it's not only plan A, plan B, plan C, and then you come up with just hold your breath, plan D. And everything did work out. It all worked out. But again, you have, in today's environment, you have to plan so much more in advance. You just cannot, put up an event and think it's all going to happen. Things can change at a split second. Everything can change at a split second. I mean, I could be told Birmingham's going to be closed. I have to have plan B in place. I do have plan B in place. I know what that is. So it's enough time to think through things, have a secondary plan in place for every little component.
Christine, I know you're a little bit more reliant on other people's decisions, but how are you kind of proceeding cautiously for a calendar next year?
We're hopeful that things will be a little more back to normal, but we're also exploring new opportunities. We worked with Wander Project through vacation races last year and explored maybe getting involved with Ragnar. They were some of the first events to come back, and so have reached out to them. We only had one person take us up he ran the Zion half last year.
That was one of the first events we saw.
That was one of the first events. Yep. And so we're, exploring some other opportunities for the future and would love to break into other sports in addition to running. So looking to see if we can get in maybe to some cycling events and seeing the return of the smaller races. Maybe they will start to have charity programs because it might be harder to get into the smaller races than it is the big ones, or trail races, things like that. So trying to keep our pulse on the running, cycling community and where the next big opportunity might be.
I think the last question for both of you, unless we get some more in from chat in the next minute or two, just if you had to take one thing that you did in 2020 because you were forced to, that you think you will continue to do in the future, as things go back to normal, what's the one thing that you would say you are taking forward that's an improvement because of that?
Well, virtual. I mean, normally I wouldn't have done that. Sorry.
No.
Under normal circumstances.
I think that's a normal race director response. That's what I do.
Right.
Under normal circumstances, I mean, we're an in-person event, so I would have not done virtual as a normal thing. But today and moving forward, yes, we will continue to do virtual. And the good thing is, since I'm a certified timer, I'm also able to set up the Race Joy. So that's another added feature that we've added on for both virtual and the 5K or 10K options that are out there. So kind of cool. It does take a little bit, but once they get it, they love it. But yeah, virtual. Yeah. And then I think, hand sanitizer, why didn't we do it, as much before? I always had it, but now we're just like overloaded with it. It's still going to be out there.
It's the same for us, virtual. I don't think we'd ever done a virtual event before. I think we put on 5 since last March, and all different ones. And it was super fun to sort of learn the process along the way. And like I said earlier, adding Race Joy. And then our last one was Race for the Gold. So we had the badges, the milestone badges, and the special messages that they got throughout that. So that was really fun. And then the virtual world is another way for us to communicate with our runners. So now all of our meetings, are Zoom, and they can see each other and they get to know each other before we show up at the event, where in the past they just met the day before the race at the team gathering, and other than seeing each other's names on the leaderboard on our RunSignup page, they didn't really know each other. And now they're going to enter these races having friendships established before they even get to the start line. So that's super exciting.
I think you guys, I might be wrong, but from my recollection, you guys might have been the first non-running challenge that was put up on the platform with the fitness challenge.
Oh, really?
It was at least the first one that I was aware of.
We did one. We jumped on that pretty quickly. The 19 days of quarantine challenge. Yep. Just to keep people engaged. Everybody was home, and nobody knew what was happening. And so it was a way for us, for our fundraisers and our service members. That was another nice thing about our virtual events, was we were able to sort of combine both sides of our nonprofit world, the people that do the fundraising and the people that receive our assistance. And I think they really enjoyed interacting with each other on our closed Facebook page and on Instagram and seeing pictures of each other. It was really special to see that happen.
All right. I think that's all I have, which means we can be done 5 minutes early, unless either of you has anything else that I should have asked you. All right. thank you guys both so
Thank
much.
you.
I think you both have been doing a great job over the last year, keeping things running and moving, and I'm excited to see you back out at real events.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Tomorrow, if you guys join us, we'll have the Summer of Joy 5K is in the morning. You can run anytime between 5:30 and 11:30 a.m. I will send out another email this afternoon just with reminders about Race Joy if you have not used that. And then, and then we'll have 3 different sessions or 3 different tracks tomorrow. We'll have one session starting out just to review what happened on the race. And then we will get back to education sessions. We'll have a track for nonprofits, one for race directors and one for timers. So you guys can kind of pick and choose where you want to be for the day or move back and forth. I think that is it. So thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you tomorrow. Thanks, Trish and Christine, a lot.
No worries.
Bye. Thanks.
Take care, y'all.